Minicamp is fresh. We just spent 3 days in the South Side. My big question for you, I think the big question everybody has heading into the summer break here is who impressed? Who are the guys that the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base should know, should have their eyes on when they get to Latrobe? And who do you think is potentially going to make a bigger impact this season than maybe people thought, or maybe you did think and have proven you right?
Yeah, so I'll go back to someone. I'll pick one from both sides of the ball. I'll start on the defensive side, and this is someone who I think everyone was expecting to kind of take a leap, take a real big step forward, and the early returns have been very good. Nick Herbig looks awesome, man. Looks completely up to the task of being an outside linebacker 3, being that kind of complementary piece to Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt. And, I think this was a line Terrell Austin used a couple days ago, but he said it's not a matter of, when Nick gets in there, is he going to be able to just kind of fill in and be a stopgap for when, Highsmith or TJ need a break? Nick is capable of being a quality player in the NFL. He is capable of doing all these things. And he's not just going to be a guy who fills in snaps. He's going to be a guy who can actually play. He's going to be an actual contributor. He can do all these different things, and he can be a real, he's not just a backup. He's not just someone who's filling snaps. He's for real. And I think you can see that when he steps on the field. I am so excited to see what he can do when he puts the pads on, when he gets to Latrobe, and when he can actually, get some reps against Dan Moore and Broderick Jones and all these different tackles that they have, and just really show us the kind of leap that he's made. Because I think he's just such a smart player. I think he's putting together all the physical stuff as well. And just the longer he spends around this team and in the NFL, I think only the better he's going to get. And I'm really expecting a lot of big things from Nick Herbig this year. And then I'll also throw in on the other side of the ball, maybe a little bit of a sleeper, but Van Jefferson I thought has looked real good. I'm real excited about Van Jefferson as well. If I had to pick, quote unquote wide receiver 2 out of the group that we've seen so far, I think Van would probably be my leader right now. He's done some good things at kind of all levels of the field, taking some short passes for extra yardage, catching those contested balls in the intermediate, and then also kind of showing off some deep threat ability. So I think that Van looks really good, looks really solid. He's a veteran. He's a sharp route runner. He's got some size. I really like what Van Jefferson has brung, and I think he's part of the reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic about that wide receiver group than I was when, OTA started and minicamp started for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And the Nick Herbig thing, to start there, I was saying yesterday, and me and you have said it a number of times during the last 3 weeks, is Troy Fautanu just real bad, or is Nick Herbig just ridiculous? Right. That's how it looks from time to time, is you're just like, wow, that's great. And he's doing TJ Watt things, you know what I mean? Like, he's throwing guys into the backfield. Like, me and you were standing there. I used this example yesterday. I'll use it again for those of you who didn't catch it. Like 2 days ago, I think it was Wednesday. Ref throws a flag on TJ Watt. TJ was not happy that a flag got thrown on TJ Watt. He did not agree with that flag. Threw Broderick Jones 8 yards into the backfield. Was just like, you're a child to me. This is abuse. And that's where I think Nick Herbig is headed. Like, he's making those plays where you watch them and go, wow, that was just so unfair. Nobody else had a shot on that play except for, he's making Justin Fields run all over the place. He does look good. I'm excited when pads come on to see if that continues, but you could kind of just see the year 2 jump with this kid, and it's headed in the right direction for sure. And I think that, man, we talked about linebackers 4s, and you still need a linebacker 4 if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you didn't need a Bud Dupree. You don't need a Marcus Golden, because you just need somebody who's going to come behind those guys and play a much smaller role. Maybe that's a Jeremiah Moon, and they feel comfortable with that. But Herbig is your linebacker 3, and he certainly deserves it, because he is on a fast track to a very big role within this defense. And then when it comes to Van Jefferson, I agree. I think that, one of my guys will be Calvin Austin. But I think those 2 wide receivers have looked the most impressive during OTAs and minicamp. They are just having great days out there constantly. And Van Jefferson looks better. And I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was Arthur Smith who dropped it. Maybe it was Mike Tomlin who dropped it. Maybe it was Van Jefferson himself. I don't know. But I remember at one point somebody said, sometimes with a veteran, if he just goes to a new team, things click better. And I think that could be the case with Van Jefferson is he comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has a bigger role. He has a better opportunity, and he has the right pieces around him. And maybe just the offense works better for what he's able to do. So I do have big hopes for Van Jefferson. One of my guys is Calvin Austin. I think Calvin Austin has looked very sharp. He looks a little bit bigger, which is great. His speed is still very much so there. He looks much more fluid. He looks like he took that, year 2 to year 3, but really that year 1 to year 2 jump. And he's ready to make some noise. He feels like a veteran. He feels more locked in. He's been working with guys like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens and their wide receivers coach over the offseason, and I think that's helped tremendously. Let me ask this question before I give my second guy here. Do you think that Calvin Austin can be a wide receiver 2, or do you think that his limitations and size kind of hold him back to just a wide receiver 3?
Yeah, I really hate to – I wouldn't want to put a lid on what Calvin can do or on his potential, because I think, like you said, he has grown so much just from like you said, basically year 1 to year 2. So that, I don't want to put a cap on it, but it does kind of, I don't know, my gut says like that, at least for right now. I'd have a hard time believing that he can be a true wide receiver 2 for the Steelers, especially a wide receiver 2 on a team that's really successful and winning. I just think I think right now the optimal role for him, the ideal role, the role where he maximizes his value is a third wide receiver where, he's not getting a ton of attention paid to him. He can take some underneath routes and use his speed to create yards after the catch. Maybe break a long one every once in a while. But I think I don't know if he would thrive with wide receiver 2 attention on him. I think ideally, if you're the Steelers, it works out that, Pickens is your obvious number 1. You have Van Jefferson taking a little bit more attention as your number 2, and then, Calvin's able to run wild as a third option, or even running wild when teams are paying attention to Pat Freiermuth and they're loading the box against, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. I think that's kind of the ideal situation for the Steelers. I'll reserve judgment, until I see what Calvin's able to do in pads and able to do in real games this year. I don't want to doubt that he can eventually get to wide receiver 2 status, but I'm not putting it on him this year. I'm not thinking that's in the cards for him in 2024.
So I was asked this question a week ago maybe, and my answer has since changed, and I'm curious of your answer. It was, will Roman Wilson be a day 1 starter? And I think his fiercest competition is Calvin Austin. Mm-hmm. Who do you see walking away as the day 1 starter as of right now?
Oh, Calvin Austin, 1,000%. Like I said, Calvin's been really good, and this is not taking anything away from him, but I think Roman is a little bit more of a work in progress than I certainly anticipated, and I think many others anticipated. He gets coached hard. Roman Wilson does. Zach Ozani said so very specifically. If you spend any amount of time at practice, you see it. They believe in Roman Wilson's talent, and I still really do too. But he's got some stuff he's got to work on. The kind of, I think it's more the little parts of being an NFL player, just taking that leap from college to the pros. You got to be so much more detailed. It's so much more physical. It's so much faster. And I think Roman's still kind of catching up to that speed and the physicality and everything like that. So I believe in Roman. I think Roman's a good player, and I think he's going to be a good player in the Steelers for a while, but he's got some work to do. He's got a ways to go. Calvin, a lot closer to being ready for that role, right? Being ready to be a week 1 starter than Roman Wilson is at this point.
Yeah, I agree. My answer when I was asked was, I think right now Calvin has the advantage, but I think Roman Wilson will get there. What I've seen from Calvin Austin since I've answered that question is he has really grown. He has taken a pretty significant step forward. And again, you got to put pads on, and things change with pads. But Calvin's not a guy like you talked about Gunnar Olszewski a couple of years ago, where it's just like, this dude's always open. It's ridiculous. Calvin Austin is a physical guy. He's a guy that has made this work in the past. He's not afraid of contact. He gets open. He plays much bigger than he actually is. That's never been an issue for Calvin Austin. It's more so just developing and adjusting to the speed of the NFL. And I think he's getting there. And I think he's very close to being there. And Roman Wilson has the potential. You see it, but you also see that he's a 3rd-round rookie and plays like a 3rd-round rookie. And it'll come. I think he had too high of expectations coming into OTAs and minicamp, but where we stand right now, the Steelers wide receiver core is actually much better than we thought it was. And because of that, Calvin Austin is going to be a significant piece to the puzzle. So my answer has definitely changed. My other guy is Jaylen Warren. There has not been a day, not a single day, where I have watched running back individual drills and haven't gone, wow, Jaylen looks like a monster. Every single day. Everything is effortless. There is not one drill where he does not look more fluid than every single other, Najee Harris included. And this is no, like, there is a large gap between it's Jaylen, Najee, next guy up. There is significant gap there. Jaylen looks more fluid than anybody in Pittsburgh right now. It's great. He looks more fluid than, on the offensive side of the ball. But he looks more fluid, more jacked up, more smooth than any single person. And I'm talking running back drills where you're cutting through holes, you're blocking. The blocking drills where he has to hit that body bag it's nuts. Like, it's absolutely nuts. He looks as good as he's ever looked, and it's not like a physical thing. It's just simply play. He looks ridiculous. So I don't know what my expectations are for Jaylen Warren. I think that if he beats last season, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But if he stayed where he was with 1,000 yards and just about 800 yards rushing, that's not a bad season whatsoever as a running back too. But Jaylen Warren is a dude who certainly has impressed me during minicamp.
Yeah, one of the most fun things about attending a Steelers practice is getting to watch Eddie Faulkner's setup drills.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
It's ridiculous. And for Jaylen in particular, he is to keep finding bigger and bigger bags, bigger and bigger medicine balls to throw at him, because the 14-pound one that he tries to throw at him during ball security or contact balance drills, those just aren't enough. Those aren't doing anything to him. And it plays out when you see. I mean, it was Alan Saunders who I think pointed this out to me, but there was a clip going around a couple weeks ago from the Ravens game last year where Jaylen, it's kind of the coach's film, and you can see Jaylen. It's a few plays, but it's plays where he's just getting hit by like multiple defenders, and it's like it's the wind blowing against him. He's just maintaining his balance so effortlessly. He's maintaining his speed and his acceleration so effortlessly, and you can see that, kind of paying off through these drills. Jaylen, I agree. He looks as strong as he ever has. I think the fact that he's been involved in the offense but hasn't had to be a workhorse like Najee was, particularly during his first 2 years, has been huge for him. Yep. Those legs still look plenty fresh. He has a great motor. I think Jaylen Warren's in line for a big year. Do you think it's possible that both he and Najee get to 1,000 rushing yards? Because I think they both got 1,000 scrimmage yards last year. Do you think they just new offense, focused on the run game, better offensive line? Do you think that they can both get to 1,000 yards rushing?
Yes, I do. And I might sound crazy, and this is no criticism towards Najee whatsoever. But if I had to predict which of the two I felt more confident gets to 1,000 yards rushing this season, my prediction is Jaylen Warren. And it's There's a million factors that go into this. And I think the most significant one is that you saw the Steelers each year of Najee's career prepare Najee more for the playoffs. And I think that this year it will be even more of that. It will be, more Jaylen Warren. He continues to take steps forward. They continue to keep Najee fresher and still momentum. I'm not saying they're going to hold Najee out of games, but there might be games where Jaylen finishes with more touches than Najee this season, especially early in the season. And I think Jaylen's, the more touches you give him, the higher the chances that he breaks a 60-yard run or a 70-yard run or something like that. And I think those things will happen. So do I think both of them hit 1,000 yards? If you gave me good odds, I would take that bet almost every single day. I think Jaylen hitting 1,000 yards is it's very high on my, if I had to make a guess of Steelers stat lines this season, Jaylen hitting his first 1,000-yard season is definitely up there.
Yeah, I just think there's going to be the volume there. There's going to be so many carries to go around. It's going to be almost impossible for them not to. If Najee's averaging whatever, just a little bit under 4 yards a carry for his career, I think he's just going to simply get enough touches for that to naturally get there. And and that's not even factoring in okay, they have better quarterback play and they'll be able to throw it a little bit better. That's a threat now. They have a better offensive line, so Najee and Jaylen, neither of them are taking their first hit when they're 2 yards into the backfield, they are everything is setting up, I think, for a much better season for both of them. I would absolutely take, if the prop bet was out there for 2 Steelers to rush for 1,000 yards, I would absolutely take it right now.
I wonder if it is. We might have to look at that. You know what I mean?
We might have to explore. Yeah, might have
that's
to
what
do
I'm
a
saying.
little,
Dude, we get a
little
couple
research.
That's what I'm saying. A couple of cocktails at the wedding tomorrow. We might have to, might have to just pull up the FanDuel, see what's going on, and check those odds.